Roll call.
Chisel. Here. Neal.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Luce.
Here.
Zittergruen.
Here.
Hadley.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Okay, is there anyone who wishes to address the council on something that's not on the agenda? I believe, Steve, if you want to come up and kind of position the microphone to your height, state your name and address, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Steve McCarter. I live at 2749 Hidden Falls Road in Glenwood Township. First of all, before my time starts, could I say thank you to all of you for being public servants and for the work that you put in on behalf of the city. I know what it feels like to be engaged in that kind of work and also to be on the receiving end of controversy. So the remarks I'm making tonight are intended to be respectful of the council and the individual members of the council and the mayor, where they might not dovetail with decisions that have been made recently.
Thank you.
Okay. All change is not necessarily progress. Laura Motter of Decorah spoke these words to City Council almost 20 years ago during a Walmart public hearing. That truth still applies. The proposal to build an apartment complex on the city-owned property at the city-owned parking lot next to Onyoto Co-op is at least premature and problematic. At worst, it is potentially catastrophic for the food co-op, other downtown businesses, and the farmers market as well. It would also change the feel and the look of the downtown dramatically. Please remember, scale matters even in our small community. Any municipality that embarks on a mission to improve the community by selling off a public asset for private gain must create a baseline process and set of rules for considering such proposals. That must also include a risk-benefit analysis paid for by the city with results discussed at public hearings before any memorandum of understanding is considered or agreed to. None of that has happened here. What has already been set in motion with the MOU is an inevitable pressure campaign from the developer, who will say something like, "We've spent $80,000 on this plan, which the city encouraged us to submit, so let's get it done." This is an unhealthy version of putting the cart before the horse. Before privatizing a public infrastructure asset, the city of Decorah must adopt a set of procedures that guarantees all stakeholders a place at the table. The council and the mayor have a core principle obligation to first do no harm. When the co-op initiated the process for moving to the old Fairway building in 2007, the existence of the parking lot was central to the board's decision to move ahead. Without real benefit and the certainty of its long-term availability, the co-op likely would have considered other sites. For proof of the need for caution, look no further than the recent failure of Dubuque's food co-op, due in large measure to insufficient parking nearby. In the short term, a construction project of this magnitude and duration for up to a year would likely prove fatal to businesses who rely on the lot for customer convenience and access. It would certainly disrupt and damage the retail synergy between the food co-op and the farmers market, a phenomenon that benefits all downtown retail businesses for 6 months each year. Will there be tax increment financing, property tax abatements, or grant funding for those established businesses which are put at risk? Not likely. Today, I'm asking the Decorah City Council to exercise its right, guaranteed in the Memorandum of Understanding, to terminate the agreement and go back to square one. A transparent, deliberative process to evaluate the wisdom, the costs, risks, and benefits of new developments in the downtown business district. These comments should not be construed as opposition to the idea of new affordable apartment construction in the downtown area. That is an ongoing and important need, but it is not appropriate to build housing on city-owned infrastructure properties without the aforementioned enabling processes. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Steve.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Okay, oath of office and badge pinning ceremony for Mason Smith, police officer.
I'm going to have Mason join me up here. I know you've heard me talk about Mason Smith during the whole hiring process when we were going through our candidates. This is Mason. Mason, your city council, your mayor, city attorney, city manager, and city clerk. We're going to take care of a couple items today. First, we're going to give you the oath of office. I'm going to have you face me, raise your right hand. I, Mason Smith,
I, Mason Smith,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all of the duties of police officer
discharge all the duties of police officer
in the city of Decorah, Iowa,
in the city of Decorah, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Congratulations. I'm going to have a sign here. Make sure my hand still works after that handshake. Did you hear that crack? Not making that up. Second thing I want to do tonight is we have a ceremony where we reward someone a badge. And the ceremony is to pin the badge on the individuals that earned it, and it's a long-standing law enforcement community tradition. The badge is the most important item of equipment that you're going to be awarded as a police officer. Mason started today, for those that don't know. So Mason, you got a lot of equipment today, right? Whether it's the duty belt, the firearm, the uniform, the bulletproof vest, this item that you're going to get tonight is the most important. It said the badge doesn't weigh much until you put it on. That's a true and accurate statement. The symbolism of the badge, whether it's an oval or star-shaped, it's always the same. It represents an ancient warrior's shield, a shield of protection. The symbolism's twofold. It represents the protection we provide to the community and the protection the community provides to us. The finish on the badge is gold. That represents something precious. It's imperative that the badge remain shiny. For if you do anything to tarnish it, whether on duty or off duty, you don't just tarnish your own badge, but the badge of all of us in the office and every member of the law enforcement profession. Here at Decorah Police Department, we value professionalism, and we're committed to having the best in our agency. At this time, I'd like to have Mason's father, Jamie, join us up front. Mason's chosen his father, Jamie, to do the honor of pinning the badge on him. A lot of people sometimes wonder where we get that desire to go into public safety, public service, community service. Look no further than Mason's father if you want to see the example. Mason's father is a firefighter, volunteer. He's a mayor, much like you all on this side of the dais. He's city council member, was also a member of the school board. So that's kind of where kids get their drive from. They look up to their parents, and that's what Mason has. So thank you for your service. This time I'm going to give you the badge and have you pin it on Mason. If you stick him, that's going to make up for the handshake I just got. Thank you again for your service, and thank you for allowing us to have him. Congratulations on receiving your badge. The last thing I want to do is I want to offer you some advice. Number one, show gratitude. You wouldn't be here today if it weren't support from your family, so never forget that. Remain humble and accept feedback, both guidance and criticism. Challenge yourself. A lot of opportunities in this occupation. Take advantage of them. Rise above negativity and pettiness that you're going to encounter in this profession. There is no greater job. Possess integrity above all, and take care of yourself. A work-life balance is the most important thing in this line of work. So congratulations, Mason. Thank you.
Thank you. Consent agenda.
Item A, minutes of the June 20, 2022 special meeting, June 20, 2022 regular meeting, and June 28, 2022 work session. Item B, tax abatement, Dustin Verkandi, 506 Mossman Drive, new construction. Item C, tax abatement, Travis Mossman, 1510 Laurel Drive, new construction. Item D, tax abatement, Matthew Downing, 2408 Red Oak Road, new construction. Item E, renewal Class C liquor license with outdoor service for La Rana.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Olson. Any discussion?
Just a quick request for that Travis give us an update on progress being made towards conversations around the tax abatements. I know
Yep.
that that's been something that we've asked you to take a look at.
Yep, got a follow-up phone call on Thursday with John Danos of Dorsey Whitney for a number of different items, including that. Yep,
Can I want to follow up with that as long as we're talking about it. When do our current commitments to these tax abatements end?
it's at council's discretion to change the plan. So,
Okay, I was going to say at the end of the meeting, I think we need to have this on our next agenda, discussion of abatements.
okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Chisel. Aye. Olson.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Conduct a public hearing on the FAA NAVI lease. Can you give background on that, please, Travis?
Sure. So the Naviaid lease is a renewal of an existing FAA lease for navigational equipment on the premise. There's essentially two routes to go. One is to have a lease like this, FAA own the navigational equipment, or the city purchase and operate their own. Airport Commission did review and discuss this a bit at the last commission meeting and is recommending extending the existing lease.
I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to this item by the council? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider resolution approving FAA NAVIAID lease.
I'd move approval of the lease.
Second.
Motion made by Luce, seconded by Chisel. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Roll call.
Luce.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider pay application number 2022 for alley improvement project. Want to give background on that, please?
Yep. I'll give brief background. If there's any further questions, Jeremy is online and available. Pay application number 1 is up for consideration. It is for work completed date minus 5% retainage. That total is $73,608 of the $185,148.73 contract amount. Pay application's been reviewed and recommended for approval by the city engineer.
Hadley will move approval of application 1.
Second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Olson. Further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Roll call.
Hadley.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Consider approval of subgrant agreement between the City of Decorah and the Iowa Economic Development. Travis?
Yes, so if the council remembers, it's been several months. The city was the applicant, the official applicant for the Nordic Chiropractic Buildings project for the downtown housing grant. $300,000 was awarded to the city. We are the grant recipient, and these are ARPA funds, so there are federal requirements that are tied to these. The subrecipient grant is required of us to get the $300,000 for the project. We will then have a secondary contract with Elvira Estates LLC, and this one has a time crunch. This is required response. The other one just needs to be done before the first drawdown is done.
But functionally, just to clarify, this is passed through. I mean, the city doesn't keep a portion. It's not required to match any portion.
Correct. Pass through only, no match. Correct.
I'll make a motion to consider the approval of the subgrant agreement.
Second by Luce.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Luce. Any further discussion? Hearing seen none. Roll call.
Neal,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel, Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider approval of change order number 6 for the Locust Road project.
Change order 6 has been reviewed and recommended by the city engineer. This is a rectifying quantities change order, so there's 27 different items. It is for a total reduction of $38,669.85. I know there's been some discussion in past among council on the engineering side, and if there are errors there. This is not a payment, and this is also a change in the contract with the contractors, so still not, would have no bearing on the argument of whether engineering was done correctly on McClure's part.
Does this close out the project then?
It gets us one step closer. We'll still have a final pay app, right, Jeremy? At least one more.
That's correct, yes.
Will that final pay be contingent on figuring out the McClure engineering?
That would be a
Excuse?
similar, it would be a pay application to the contractor that performed the work and not to McClure. So McClure hasn't been paid anything further based on council's previous discussions.
Okay.
Hadley will move approval of change order number 6.
Luce with second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Luce. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Hadley,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel, Neal,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider resolution approving Good Shepherd sidewalk easement.
Good Shepherd Lutheran Church was going to install a sidewalk. If they were to stay within the right-of-way, they would have had to take in several mature trees out. So in order to save them, they rerouted the sidewalk up into private property. With that, we do need to have an easement back to the city for that sidewalk, and that's what this easement would do.
Luce would move approval of the easement.
Second.
Motion made by Luce, seconded by Olson.
Jeremy,
Further discussion?
Jeremy, with the meandering change, is there any exposure to us as far as ADA compliance because of the change of offset?
No, I would say alignment is not a requirement. It's strongly encouraged to keep a straight alignment as you can, but sorry, I got some background here. No, it should not be an issue.
Okay, thank you.
I'm pretty familiar with this sidewalk. I take it every day that my kid goes to preschool, and unlike other sort of suggestions for variations from the tradition of sidewalks being in the right of way, this one deviates very little from the right of way. It's just a short jog that goes for 20 yards or so and then jogs right back. If you're walking along it, there's no question about where you go to follow the sidewalk. it's easy to find and see from all parts of that street. So I think this is a good example of a deviation from our traditional sidewalk pattern.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with it too, and it's not a sharp jog. It gradually rolls around the corner of the trees and back around to the thing. So no, this is not a problem at all. And it looks very nice too.
Any other further comments? Roll call.
Luce. Olson.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Chisel. Neal.
Aye.
Zittergren.
Motion carried. Planning and zoning appointment. After the last meeting, I did go back and look at all of the applications again. I also reviewed the current members of the zoning commission and the times that they have been on. You've got Ryan Delaney, who came on 19. Martin Refsall came in 21. Hannah Geary came in 22. Joel came in 17. Holly was 22. Marla was 20. When I looked at them, I knew that the council vetoed my last appointment due that it was a contractor. There was a comment about having a representative from downtown, and when I looked, Anna Geary does represent the downtown as a business. There is gender balance currently. I think my comment is the same as it was before, in the sense that I think what's needed is some history. And then when I reviewed Mark Carlin's application, he's worked in remodeling homes and businesses for 24 years. He also does rental property. He's got experience and working with presenting things to the planning and zoning. And I felt that he would be a good addition to the P&Z. So my recommendation for filling this position is Mark Carlin.
I would move for approval of Mark Carlin for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second. Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Johnson?
No, he beat me.
Seconded by Kirsten. Sorry. Discussion?
Well, I'll start just by saying thank you, Mayor, for taking another look at that and considering the current makeup of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I think that, like you, I think that the makeup of this commission is extremely important for the future of our city and its economic vitality and fiscal solvency and its resiliency. How we build our city, how we plan our city is more than just a matter of knowing, how to do construction. That's part of it. But how we build and plan a city, means being open to learning about planning and zoning. That's not something that comes naturally, and a lot of the truisms of planning and zoning are often counterintuitive. I think that you also need to have an openness to new ideas and an appreciation for the strengths of the traditions that are baked into strong cities like Decorah. And I would love to know more about Mark and whether he possesses those attributes. I think that there was a lot of good evidence of his aptitude for this role in his application, but I personally would love to have had a chance to have a conversation with him. But unfortunately, I only became aware of this appointment very recently. So I'm curious, when was it added to the agenda?
Actually,
Friday. Last
Was it
week.
Friday? Yeah. I mean, and obviously sometimes 2-3 days isn't enough to take a deep look at something. So I personally I'd love a chance if we could just have a week to, I'd like to make a call and see him. So I'm curious if my fellow council members would be open to that.
he was, actually his application was in the packets when I attempted to appoint Brad as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just to respond to that, I certainly, don't call every applicant. I usually like to make contact with the nominee for a position. But that's, I was busy this weekend, so if the council doesn't want to hold this up, I can understand that, and I'm ready to vote today.
I actually really like that idea, Steve. So I was actually prepared to vote against Mark again, not because it's Mark, but I have really taken to heart what has been asked of us at many public comments and the downtown representation. Being that Hannah literally just opened a business in downtown a day, 2 days ago. When I looked at the makeup of P&Z, I didn't put Hannah in that category again because she just opened a business 2 days ago. So with that, I guess I would like to have a conversation with Mark, but in fairness to Brad, and the reason that I voted against Brad would be the same reason that I would vote against Mark. To be very clear, it has nothing to do with who they are, but a strong desire to make sure downtown has good representation on our committees. And planning and zoning is one of those committees that I think having that vision for our C3 district downtown is really important. So I like the idea on actually waiting a week to think more about this. I did look at Mark's application when I was going through them last time, but I did miss this on the agenda on Friday. So again, I saw this today. So I would appreciate the time, but I also understand if colleagues do not want to go that way.
I guess I would say that I think we passed up a golden opportunity to put Brad Wicks on this planning and zoning. He's got 38 years of work in the construction business. I don't think we can shortchange the expertise and knowledge that person would bring to this planning and zoning commission. I spoke to him on Tuesday after we voted him down. Explained to him I hoped if we had future openings that he would put in again. He relayed to me he'd been turned down 3 times for this job. 3 times he'd put in for this and been turned down. Mark is obviously the second most qualified of the 4 applicants we had, with 24 years of experience in building and construction, owns numerous rental properties around town. I think we're sending a bad signal to the community of Decorah by turning people down that have a lot of expertise, especially on planning and zoning and board of adjustment, and I hate to see us going down that road. So I would be voting for Mark to approve.
I will too. Mark Carlin has done a number of good projects in our community. My daughter and son-in-law live right across the street from 4 condos that I believe Mark put up, and they're beautiful properties. He does quality work. He was also one of the partners that helped with Pulpit Rock Brewery. He was the main carpenter on that project, and I think he did a fabulous job. So I will be voting for Mark Carlin.
I'll vote to support Mark. Nothing against Brad, but if it was a street committee, there wouldn't be anybody better for concrete. But it's not concrete. It's housing, and that's our focus. We put the focus on housing in our 2080 agreement with jobs. Housing was in our strategic plan, and housing carries the day. And Mark can fit that bill. So I will vote to support Mark.
I just want to clarify, because I would not want anyone to think that I don't think we need expertise of contractors and builders on planning and zoning. We have that expertise there. We're not talking about city planners here. If city planners had wanted to be on our P&Z, because we don't have one, I can think of several who would be fantastic on our P&Z. That isn't represented at all on P&Z. But when I did some research into P&Z, I think you want to be cautious about filling your P&Z board with developers and builders and contractors, and to look for that expertise in other thoughts, much like Steve said, that it's not about building stuff for your city, but careful consideration to how you design your city. So anyhow, I just wanted to put that in because, again, I don't want to come across as having anything against contractors in general, just making sure we have diverse representation on P&Z.
I think, too, if I look at the newness of the P&Z, I appreciate what they bring to the table, but I also appreciate perhaps what Mark can bring to the table to assist them in learning more as well. Any other comments?
I will speak again about the equity aspects of gender, and it's balanced now, but there's no problem with being more one gender than others, and a lot of our other commissions are male-dominated. So I think this would be a wonderful opportunity to provide another female gender on P&Z.
I certainly appreciate that, Steve. I think with the equality that we have, that the emphasis should be on the quality of the person. But
Well,
I
I
appreciate
think
your
Lori's a
feeling.
quite qualified and quality person.
So, I think, once again, as far as Lori's concerned, I'm excited about having her in the community and being involved. I'd look forward to if she would have more connection with P&Z, maybe come to P&Z more too. But I feel that Mark could bring quality to that, a diverse quality as well to the P&Z.
I guess I'd like to just add one more comment. I want to applaud the city of Decorah and the 4 people that stepped up and put their name in for this. We had one opening and 4 people were willing to step up to the plate and put their name in. And that speaks highly of the city of Decorah and these 4 people. Thanks.
And P&Z is fun. It's more fun than city council, so you're making a good choice, Mark.
I'm going to call for a vote for the appointment.
Chisel.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Luce.
No?
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Motion carried. Mark will be approved for the P&Z. Thank you very much for your consideration. City manager and department heads?
For the sake of time, no.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good.
Is there a storm coming, or
Well,
About 7 o'clock, it's anticipated,
we
yeah.
got 43 minutes?
Yep.
you do. 43
I'll defer
minutes.
my time then. All right.
Are you,
But I can tell you what's more fun than P&Z or council.
will you give a report on the Ad Hoc Committee? And I'll make a comment.
Absolutely. The Ad Hoc Housing Committee that the mayor established met a few Wednesdays ago, I want to say, and there were 2 items of business, and oh golly, Mayor, you put me on the spot. I know.
I can tell you what they were.
I appreciate that. I know one of them was me, and I presented to the committee about an assessment tool that the Iowa State University Extension Office has developed. If the press who are in the room want to get a link to read about that, they certainly would be welcome to. But it's basically a 4-ish session workshop led by a trained ISU housing conversations facilitator that's intended to bring diverse stakeholders and representatives of interest groups into a room together over the course of several months and just try to really come up with an action plan, an incrementable action plan for the city's housing needs. I think it's interesting. In the subsequent weeks, the mayor, I, and Travis have reached out to several Iowa communities that have used this tool. And I think unilaterally, we've heard pretty positive things. And so I think it's going to be our recommendation to council. This is me being maybe a little premature, but I suspect that the council will be asked to consider embracing this tool as the way forward, or one good way forward. So I'm excited about that. I know that there's been concerns about transparency of this process, but literally all we're doing is talking about what we should talk about, and I feel like now there's a path forward. I know most of the communities that have engaged in this tool seem to have structured it so that they're all public meetings, or at least some of them have, and I think we should strongly consider that, given the widespread concern in our community that there's stuff happening behind closed doors that there just isn't happening. So might as well make sure that that notion is put to rest. Then we also heard of the experience of, the name is why I feel on the spot. Her name. Who else?
Oh, I know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
I'm sorry.
The Native American.
No, not Native American. Well, that was a different presentation, you're talking the Northeast Iowa Community, not Community Action Council.
The woman who came and presented to us
Oh,
about her.
I know, Mary Ann Humble.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was just not in my
Sorry.
brain. So yeah, Marianne Humple came and talked to us about her experience successfully creating, some affordable housing, and just the process that went into it and what it took. It was a nice map. Of course, things have changed some, and so there'd be different challenges today. But just knowing that this has been done successfully in this community is good too. So it was a good conversation.
Just a follow-up on that. I know that there's been a lot of questions about the Housing Ad Hoc Committee and its purpose. I know that there had been questions or comments about open and having it open. And I just wanted to reiterate, which I had done to Paul when he asked me about the article he was going to put in, and said that it is the right of the city council to have ad hoc committees. There is no job, no work done. I mean, there's work done, but there's no voting, there's no power. And when I put this together, I put it together with members. There's about 12 members, and they're made up of community members that are related with the ad hoc, those being Nathan Thompson, who was formerly on the Upper Explorerland Housing, Aaron Dieter, who's a Sustainability Commission member, Mike Harmon, Realtor, Dave Finhold, who is a contractor, Ken Vandenberg, who works with Habitat for Humanity, Mary Ann Humble, who was the former director of the Northeast Iowa Community Action and Housing, Mike Hinker, Decorah Bank mortgage lender. And at the time, I felt that it was key to have Steve Luce on as the chair of the Economic Development, and also Steve Zittergruen, chair of the Community Betterment and Housing. And Kirsten asked that he was interested in learning more about it as well. This committee has not discussed the 40 units. This committee is exploring, reviewing, discussing, making recommendations for overall housing, such as looking at the assessment, the rural housing resident, housing readiness assessment. And so I just wanted to clarify that. I had several emails in relation to that, and I did send out the Housing Ad Hoc Committee purpose. I think I'm going to speak directly to Paul in the sense I believe that when we talked, I did state that it wasn't in conjunction. As far as I know, the council has not appointed any members to the committee that is known as the Oneonta River Development, which is an exciting committee as well. I also know that the council agreed to be open to discussing with them, but that there has been no discussion since then. When there is, and for any of the discussions that come up, there's a lot to be considered as far as, does it need to go to P&Z? Does it need to go to Betterment? And there's a lot of, and it includes public hearings, but I just wanted to reiterate for the public my feelings on some of the things I've been getting information on. I think people can also, and I know Paul probably turns around and tells people if they want to know about something that's going on, contact your city council person. Contact myself. If I don't know, then I'll be glad to look into it. So.
Mayor, I would just like to say as a member of the community and as also as an elected official who is not on the ad hoc committee, that I'm very confident that the people who are serving and all of the public members who are participating and discussing this issue are doing so in good faith, and I have every confidence that that they will come back with good information when it's time. So thank you for serving, and thank you for considering this very important potential.
Ross, anything on your end?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Okay. Kurt, anything beyond that?
Just want to, in the interest of time, just want to point your eyes to these two papers that were on our desk this afternoon. The grants listed for Winnebago County Development, and also information on the hotel motel tax, and the Sunflower Progress Report. That's it.
Fantastic. Steve Luce, anything?
I was
Take a
waiting
seat.
for after you. Go ahead.
I know you were done. Okay.
No, he had 45 minutes.
No, actually, since we're talking, I had two quick things that weren't housing related that I just
Okay.
wanted to say.
Okay.
I went to the presentation that the new Minoa players put on of The Little Mermaid, and it was a tremendous event, and I think that they're one of so many wonderful organizations that enrich and enliven our community life. And another one was yesterday morning where I saw several city council members, a day that normally doesn't have a lot of organized events going on in Decorah. It's very nice to have something organized with Pulpit to Pulpit's annual 5K run. I think this is the fourth year. It's very successful. It raised many thousands of dollars for two very important local charities. So that's just a shout out to good things happening in our community.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Steve Luce?
Have a SMID meeting in the morning, 7:30, and we have a joy that our daughter and son-in-law and 2 children will be moving to Decorah.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
We're trying to build the school population back up and invite others to do that too.
Well, I'm thrilled for both you and Sarah on that.
Well, then on that note, my mother-in-law moved to Decorah. She's a resident of Wellington now in the assisted living, which is very nice, and we're glad to have her here and to have the resources that Wellington offers. So, all good news.
Bring you on the
I don't want to
population.
forget my mother-in-law.
Steve.
Another Steve, yeah.
Steve and the other brother Steve?
Yeah.
How about Kirsten?
Just one thing, real quick, keeping up with the mayor's idea of doing positive things and keeping up with the same theme of people moving to Decorah. My wife and I worked at the visitor center a couple Saturdays ago, and a couple in their mid-50s, I would say, came in from Chicago. They were making a trip to a couple different cities in Iowa, looking to escape the big city of Chicago. They went to Pella. They were not unimpressed, but they weren't totally impressed with Pella. They came to Decorah. They spent the next 10 to 12 days here in Decorah. They loved every bit of the recreational opportunities in this city had to offer, and they will be relocating to Decorah as well. So, keeping up with that theme.
Thank you. Randy?
I have nothing this evening, Mayor.
Okay. I did attend.
Hey,
Oh, I'm sorry, Emily. They're in Iowa City. Is that where you're at?
I am in Iowa City, yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple things. Do you want me to
Okay.
go or you want to go
Yep,
first?
No. Go ahead.
I'm really glad comments were made on the ad hoc committee. I want to just further the understanding of that committee as a data gathering committee, right? I think Steve really pointed out this idea that there were 3 members of council who wanted to do the work, which is awesome because we're all spread very thin. So I think we should be gracious to those members who are willing to do this because really what they are doing is gathering data. And so the other comment I wanted to make was just about how council has been working. And I think I was at a few council meetings before I was on council. I've seen how other councils work, and I appreciate that our council talks a lot, right? And I'm sure to city staff and others, we can go on, and I know there's a rainstorm, so I won't. I think one of the reasons we do that is because many of us, and perhaps all of us, I would go on a limb and say, read all of the letters that come to our mail. And not only do we read all the letters, I would be remiss to say that most of them don't agree, right? We get letters from both sides. We take all the issues that are coming at us, all the sides that we get, and then we come to council and we share those ideas. And we don't say so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. We are essentially conduit for what our constituents are saying. And we're taking what we know as council, what we've learned as we take deep dives into issues, and we're debating that, which is, I think, what people want their council to do. That is about as transparent as I think a council can be. There hasn't been anything about this 40 building apartment complex. I don't even know if we've decided on 40 apartments, quite honestly, that hasn't been said at a public meeting. And along with that, the only thing that has been decided is that we want to see a plan. And we can't really have discussions. We can't really move forward. We can't have public meetings unless we actually have a plan. And all we did was met with a development group who said, hey, we want to try a new method of development. And in that new method of development, we want to work hand in hand with the city to address needs of the city. They asked us, where would you like us to look? How would you like us to look? And what are some, non-negotiables in looking? And those were all happened in a public meeting. And the only other meetings that have happened related to that were when people were called and said, are you sure this is where you want to go? And then we were like, yes. And then they took it back to the council to say, okay, are you sure you want to go there? So I think there's been a lot of misinformation about how often we've met, what we've met on related to this issue. And I really encourage people who want to take a strong opinion on this issue that hasn't even developed a plan for it yet to contact their council member. I think there's an idea that the co-op hasn't been talked to on that. That's not true. They have been. I think there are a lot of exciting ideas to consider. But the truth is, we just took a baby step forward in a giant process that's going to involve a lot of public input and meetings by the nature of dealing with public property. The other thing, I didn't want to send any red flags, as I sort of said that abruptly after our consent agenda about abatement. I just know that we've been talking about abatement and rebates for 2 years. And so I just want to make sure we're moving forward with that. I don't want anyone to go off from that meeting thinking, oh my God, they're going to end abatements tomorrow. That was not my intention. I just think we need to keep making sure we're bringing that forward with the abatements and the rebate plan. And then finally, just because we're in a public meeting and I've gotten lots of comments about the Pleasant Hill remodel, most of which everyone is just like thrilled that is happening. Jeremy, I just want to get together with you or have an idea of how we're going to make that a little bit safer for walking and biking. Living right before that area, I've noticed that traffic on that road, foot traffic and bike traffic, which is fantastic, has increased astronomically in the last few years. And I just want to make sure when we remodel that road that we're thinking about the safety of walking and biking.
Okay, thanks, Emily.
Yep.
Native, I want to make it known that I attended the Native American Interpretive Project, and this is a countywide project, and it is being, it was a grant that Laura Freese pulled together with, I want to say, I think it was RC&D, Josh Dansdale. But it's exciting. What it is bringing to the area are the type of kiosks that we have already, but on these kiosks it's going to be specifically Native American information that it pertains to the various Indian groups that were living in this area. There's a lot of work to be done, but they started. I know Andy has been very beneficial. There'll be some things on that too. So. Right. That's correct. I'm not sure I'm going to acknowledge.
One short question.
I'm not sure I'm going to let you do the question, but you can ask me afterwards.
The question is, if this has been an open process, why have I never gotten a meeting notice for these meetings?
The meeting, as far as the Ad Hoc Committee is concerned, the Housing Ad Hoc Committee, because of the nature of it's purely the committee that I have. That one does not require putting it on an agenda or working with it. But the city has the right to be able to have a study group.
I just argue with the characterization of it as an open process. If the
it's not, the ad hoc committee is not discussing the 40 apartment complex. You're like, you put those two issues together and they're not.
You know, I'm not going to take any more information tonight, but what I would do is contact the city council and also either Travis or myself. So I'm not taking any more comments.
Thank you.
I have a motion to adjourn. Okay, that sounds great. And that was at the workshop that was prior to the city council meeting. Motion to approve, close. Thank you.